The resignation letter landed on his desk. The VP glanced at it, then at me, and immediately broke into a laugh. "You," he said, picking up the paper. "You're resigning? At your age?" I didn't answer. He leaned back, waving the letter like a trophy. "This is rich. You actually think you'll walk out of here and find another job? At your age? Don't kid yourself." Silence. His smirk grew wider. "You want honesty? No one is hiring you. Companies don't chase people past their peak. They want fresh blood, not fossils." I kept my eyes steady on him. "Do you know what this looks like?" he continued, tapping the letter against his desk. "It looks like desperation. You're trying to quit before you get pushed out. That's all this is." He laughed again, shaking his head. "Let me save you the trouble, you were already on the list. I was going to cut you anyway. You just beat me to it." I didn't move. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk. "Look at you. Still standing there, pretending to be calm. Still acting like this is your choice. But we both know the truth, you're finished. Out there, you're a nobody. Out there, no one cares about your so-called experience. You'll be lucky to even get an interview." He dropped the letter on the desk as though it were worthless. "You've been here too long," he went on. "People talk. They say you're stuck in your ways, that you don't adapt. Valuable once, maybe. But now? Outdated. Like old software no one bothers to update. You've had your time. It's over." The words came fast, sharp, rehearsed. "You really think you're walking away with dignity? No. You're walking away with nothing. You'll sit at home, thinking about the mistake you made, wishing you could take it back. Because believe me, out there, there's nothing waiting for you but rejection." I said nothing. The silence unsettled him. His smirk faltered for the briefest second before he covered it with another laugh. "Unbelievable," he muttered. "You really don't get it, do you? You're done. You'll never work again. Mark my words, you'll regret this for the rest of your life." He leaned back, crossing his arms, convinced he had delivered the final blow. His smirk returned, satisfied, certain of his victory. "At your age," he said one last time, slow and deliberate, "you'll never find another job. Ever." The words hung in the air. And still, I stood silent. Because while he thought he was watching someone break, he was watching someone finish the setup. His laughter filled the room, arrogant and careless. His laughter echoed. He thought the moment was his. I waited until it ended, then spoke. "Thank you for your concern." That was all. Calm. Even. Unshaken. The words landed heavier than any argument could. His smirk twitched. He leaned forward, squinting, as if he hadn't heard me correctly. "That's it," he said. "That's all you've got. Thank you for your concern." I nodded once. He chuckled, though the sound carried less confidence now. "You think acting calm makes you look strong? No. It makes you look pathetic. Weak. Like someone too afraid to face the truth." I didn't flinch. He slapped the resignation letter on the desk, louder this time. "You are finished. Do you understand that? Finished. This little act won't save you. No company will touch you. They'll laugh in your face. The same way I'm laughing now." His voice rose. He expected me to argue, to defend myself, to beg for a shred of dignity. But instead, I let silence stretch again. It unsettled him. "Say something," he snapped. I gave him the same words, slow and deliberate. "Thank you. For your concern." The calmness infuriated him. He wanted me cracked, angry, broken. Instead, he was the only one losing control. You're unbelievable, he spat. You walk in here, drop this pathetic letter, and think you've got some kind of upper hand? You're delusional. You don't matter outside this building. And in here? You're already irrelevant. He searched my face for a reaction. Still nothing. That's when he stood, pacing around the desk, circling like a predator that couldn't understand why the prey wasn't running. You think this calm act scares me? He demanded. It doesn't. You're done. You've always needed this job. Without it, you're nothing. Nothing. I didn't move. The more I stood still, the more his performance unraveled. He leaned in close, his voice low but shaking. You'll regret this. When you're sitting at home, wondering how you'll survive. When rejection after rejection piles up. When the world reminds you that you're too old, too finished, too irrelevant. I looked him straight in the eye and repeated the line one more time, steady as stone. Thank you. For your concern. His jaw tightened. The smirk was gone now. The laugh had dried up. What remained was frustration, because he realized he wasn't in control of the moment anymore. He slammed his hand against the desk. You think you've won something here? You haven't. You're walking away with nothing. I let the silence swallow his outburst. Then, with deliberate calm, I picked up the resignation letter from his desk, folded it neatly, and set it back down, right in front of him. You don't get to define what I walk away with, I said softly. For the first time, his face froze. No smirk. No laugh. Just silence. He didn't know it yet, but the balance had already shifted. I had spoken fewer than 10 words. But those words had done more damage than his entire tirade. Because arrogance thrives on reaction. And I had given him none. And in that void, he felt something he wasn't prepared for. A flicker of fear. I turned to leave. That should have been the end. A resignation delivered, a final word spoken, a door closed. But his eyes caught something he hadn't noticed before. The small box in my hand. At first, he squinted, dismissive. Then his gaze lingered. His smirk didn't return. What's that? He asked. I didn't answer. He pointed. The box. What's in it? I paused, still facing the door. Personal items, I said. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. He tried to laugh, but the sound cracked. You really think I'm stupid? That's not just some box of junk. What's inside? I turned slightly, just enough for him to see my calm expression. You seem concerned, I said. His mouth tightened. He came around the desk, moving closer, his eyes fixed on the box. Open it. Right now. I shook my head. Open it, he repeated, louder. I didn't move. His voice rose into a near shout. What's in the box? The office went quiet again. His chest heaved from the sudden outburst. My calm silence contrasted against his unraveling control. I set the box gently on the edge of his desk. He stared at it as if it were wired to explode. You're playing games, he muttered, but the confidence was gone. This is some kind of trick. Still, he didn't touch it. Open it, he said again, softer this time. Show me. I folded my arms. No. His face twitched. The smirk was gone, replaced by something raw. Unease. What's in there? He whispered now, almost to himself. I leaned closer. Something you don't want me to show. His breath caught. For the first time, the man who had mocked, jeered, and laughed, said nothing. The box sat between us like a loaded weapon. And suddenly, all his power was gone. The box sat on his desk. His eyes wouldn't leave it. His fingers hovered near the edge, but he didn't dare touch it. "You're bluffing," he said finally, his voice unsteady. "That box is nothing." I stayed silent. He leaned closer, almost snarling. "What's in there?" I answered slowly. "Proof." The word froze him. He blinked. "Proof of what?" I didn't move. "You already know." His face twitched, just once. A flicker of memory, of panic he couldn't hide. "You don't have anything," he snapped quickly, too quickly. "If you did, you'd have shown it already. You're trying to scare me." I kept my eyes locked on him. "Open it then," he demanded, his voice cracking. "Prove it's real." I didn't touch the box. I didn't need to. Instead, I leaned forward. "You want me to open it? Or do you want to keep pretending it doesn't exist?" He swallowed hard. His silence was the answer. I continued, calm as ever. "This isn't a threat. It's just reality. Everything you've said, everything you've done, it's all right here. Every email. Every signature. Every mistake you thought nobody noticed." His color drained. He stepped back from the desk. "You can't," his words trailed off. He tried again. "That's confidential. You can't take." "Confidential?" I cut in. "You made it public the moment you used my name on documents I never approved. The moment you signed deals you weren't authorized to sign. The moment you thought no one would ever question you." He shook his head, but his hands were trembling. "You're bluffing," he whispered again, but this time, he didn't believe it himself. I tapped the lid of the box lightly. "Do you really want me to prove it?" His silence answered louder than words. For the first time, he wasn't the one in control. He sank into the chair across from me, the veneer of confidence stripped away, replaced with something raw and exposed, fear. His eyes darted to the box again, but there was no malice in them now, only calculation, as if he were trying to estimate exactly how much damage it contained. I don't understand," he stammered. "Where did you even get this?" I smiled faintly. Not a warm smile. A smile that cut. Wherever I needed to. "You've left a trail for someone to follow. Every sloppy email, every misfiled contract, every decision you tried to hide, it's all here. You built it, and now it's yours to witness." His hands gripped the arms of the chair. He was shaking, though he tried to hide it. "You don't realize what you're saying. These documents, they're meaningless without context. Without proof of intent. Without someone backing you up." I leaned back, letting the weight of the silence fill the room. "I don't need anyone to back me up. You've backed yourself up beautifully. Every single misstep, every fraudulent signature, every corner you cut, it's all here. And the people who matter will see it. The ones you think you fooled for years." His jaw clenched, his eyes flicking around, as if searching for an escape, for a loophole, for some excuse. There was none. He knew it. I could see it in the way his breathing hitched, in the way his confidence fractured piece by piece. I can fix it," he said, almost pleading, his voice cracking under the pressure. "I can explain." "I can." "You don't get to explain," I interrupted, my voice calm but carrying a sharp edge. "Not this time. You had your chance. You had years to cover it up, to smooth over mistakes, to hide behind titles and authority. But reality has a way of catching up, doesn't it?" He swallowed hard, his gaze dropping to the box as if it were a predator waiting to strike. You can't just." "I can," I said simply, and I let it hang there. Short, precise, absolute. There was no negotiation in that word. He had lived in the illusion of control for too long, and now the illusion was gone. He leaned forward, desperation creeping into his posture. What do you want from me? I shook my head slowly. It's not about what I want. It's about what needs to happen. You can't erase the past, but you can decide how this ends. Do you take responsibility, or do you keep pretending this box doesn't exist until someone else opens it for you? His eyes widened, realization dawning slowly, painfully. He knew the choice wasn't really a choice at all. One path meant accountability, humiliation, exposure. The other path, the path of denial, meant inevitable ruin, just slower, more humiliating, and completely unstoppable. He leaned back in his chair, finally silent. And in that silence, I saw everything he had tried to hide for so long, the greed, the carelessness, the arrogance. The small, repeated acts of betrayal he thought no one noticed. Every decision he made to cut corners, to take advantage of trust, now staring back at him from the unassuming wooden box on my desk. You're finished, he whispered finally. Not an accusation, not a threat. Just a statement of fact. I nodded. Calm. Certain. I've never been more finished than you will be if you try to ignore this. For the first time, he wasn't the one dictating the pace, choosing the words, or deciding who would suffer. For the first time, he was watching someone else control the board, move the pieces, and hold the truth like a blade against him. And he knew, as I did, that the moment the box opened, either by my hand or by someone else's, the world he had built on lies would crumble. I let the silence stretch a moment longer, letting him feel the weight of every decision he had made, every person he had wronged, and every moment he thought he could get away with deception. Then I spoke, softly, almost conversationally. You can still make it easier on yourself. But it's up to you. I won't make the choice for you. He stared at me, broken, calculating, panicked. His empire of authority had no walls left. Every corner he thought was hidden had been illuminated. Every door he thought locked had a key. And the key was in the box, waiting. He swallowed again, slower this time. If I agree, if I cooperate, what happens? I tilted my head slightly, letting him sweat it out, let him feel the power shift. What happens depends on what you're willing to admit. But understand this, denial is over. Silence won't save you. You've played your hand, and now someone else gets to decide the consequences. His hands were trembling openly now. He looked at the box, then back at me, then down at the floor. For a man who had spent years acting untouchable, invincible, he now seemed almost fragile. A man reduced to weighing the finality of truth against the comfort of lies. I let the moment linger, knowing the power of pause in situations like this. Every second of hesitation, every gulp of fear, amplified the reality he could no longer escape. Finally, he muttered, almost inaudibly, I don't know. I don't know if I can. You can, I said, firm but steady. You have no other choice. The box doesn't care about your excuses. The facts don't care about your fear. Reality doesn't negotiate. And with that, I let my hand rest lightly on the lid of the box, not opening it, not yet, but letting him know the reckoning was real, tangible, unavoidable. For the first time, he understood completely, the game was over, and he had lost. The weight of years, the hubris, the arrogance, all of it, had led to this quiet, inescapable moment. And in that quiet, I realized something too. The box didn't just hold evidence of his failures. It held the power to reclaim control, to turn the tables, to make justice real, not through threats, not through anger, but through the simple, undeniable clarity of truth. He looked at me again, defeated, uncertain, and finally, he said, barely above a whisper, What do you want me to do? I smiled, cold and deliberate. Open your eyes. Accept it. Start making things right, or watch it all unfold without you having any say at all. And for the first time, he wasn't just listening. He was listening. The box waited. And I knew, whatever he chose next, nothing would ever be the same again. He sat in stunned silence, the box between us like a silent judge, impartial and unyielding. His fingers drummed nervously on the arms of the chair, each tap a tiny confession of panic. I could see the fight leave him, piece by piece, replaced by a raw, shivering calculation of consequences. You don't understand, he finally said, voice tight, fragile. Even if you have all of this, people won't believe you. Nobody will take. People will believe what they see, I interrupted, my tone sharp. And what's in this box isn't conjecture or rumor. It's actions. Dates. Emails. Signatures. Every slip you thought you covered up, every misstep you buried, it's here, and it's undeniable. He swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. You can't release this, he muttered, almost pleading. I've got contacts, lawyers, people, this isn't over. I leaned back slightly, my gaze unwavering. It's over when you admit the truth. It's over when you take responsibility. You've had years to hide behind titles and arrogance. Now, the title means nothing. The arrogance means nothing. All that remains is reality. And reality is in this box. His eyes flicked to it again, a subtle shudder running through him. If I cooperate, maybe we can contain this, he said, voice cracking. We can fix the fallout. Maybe keep it quiet. I tilted my head, listening. Calculating. Contain it? I repeated softly. You had every opportunity to contain your mistakes before they became systemic. You didn't. That's why this isn't about cooperation, it's about accountability. You don't get to negotiate your way out of history. His hands gripped the chair tighter. Then what do you want? Money? Position? Revenge? I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. I don't want anything from you. Not money, not revenge. I want balance. I want the truth acknowledged. I want the people who were affected by your choices to have a chance at clarity. That's it. Everything else is your problem. And it's big. He leaned forward, almost desperate, the veneer of control completely shattered. You think you can just come in here and destroy me? Just like that? I don't need to destroy you, I said calmly. You're doing a pretty good job of destroying yourself. This box is just evidence. The rest, that's on you. His eyes widened, finally registering the gravity of his position. He had spent years thinking he could act without oversight, manipulate outcomes, and hide behind authority. Now, all of that authority was meaningless. All of that control had been illusionary, and the illusion was gone. You can't, he started again, but his voice faltered. There was no anger left, only panic, the raw exposure of someone who had built a life on deception and realized, too late, that someone had traced the threads back to the source. I leaned in slightly, the tip of my finger resting lightly on the box lid. I could open this right now. Or I could let it sit here, letting you stew in the knowledge that it exists. But the choice isn't really yours anymore. You've been given a warning. How you respond defines what happens next. He exhaled shakily, his hands trembling openly now. And if I refuse? Then reality will open it for you, I said softly, almost conversationally. The moment someone else sees the evidence, it won't be a negotiation. It won't be a conversation. It'll be a reckoning. You know that. You felt it creeping up for years. His face paled, and for a long moment he said nothing, swallowed hard, and finally muttered, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can admit all of it. You can, I said firmly. Or someone else will. That's the difference. One path gives you some control over the outcome. The other guarantees chaos. His gaze dropped to the box again, the weight of it almost physical. Every corner he had tried to hide behind, every document he had signed without thought, every corner-cutting decision, all of it stared back at him. He was a man surrounded by the consequences of his own choices. I could feel the shift happening. The fear, the hesitation, the realization that he had misjudged me, underestimated the quiet power of preparation and patience. The kind of power that doesn't yell or threaten, but simply waits, calm and unstoppable. I need time, he finally said, voice trembling. I can't just face it all now. Time is relative, I said, not unkindly. You've had years to consider the consequences of your actions. A few more hours won't change the facts. They won't change the truth. All they'll do is give you a little more time to reflect before everything comes to light. He sank back in his chair, exhausted, the first real sign of surrender in his posture. His eyes flicked between me and the box, and I could see the calculation in them, the desperate attempt to weigh options, to imagine an escape that didn't exist. I need, he started again, then stopped, knowing there was nothing left to say. I let the silence stretch, long and deliberate. There was nothing to negotiate, nothing to bargain for. His world, built on deception, arrogance, and hidden mistakes, had a single lever left, acknowledgement. Finally, he whispered, almost to himself, What happens if I don't? I tapped the lid of the box lightly. Then everything unfolds without your input. Every misstep. Every deception. Every person you wronged sees it. You'll be powerless, exposed, and accountable in ways you can't even imagine. This isn't speculation, it's certainty. He shivered, swallowing hard. For the first time, he truly understood what he had built, not power, not influence, not control, but a fragile house of cards. And the box on my desk was the gust of wind waiting to tear it down. I leaned back, keeping my eyes locked on him. You have a choice. Accept it, start making things right, or do nothing and watch the consequences roll over you. Either way, the box doesn't lie. The box doesn't forgive. The box doesn't wait. He was silent, broken, calculating, panicked. Every instinct told him to fight, to deny, to escape, but he knew, deep down, that none of it mattered anymore. The game had changed. The board had shifted. And he wasn't moving the pieces anymore. I let my hand rest lightly on the lid again, a subtle reminder of the power in my control. The box was more than evidence, it was leverage, justice, and inevitability, all in one. Finally, he whispered, defeated, all right. I'll cooperate. I'll do what you say. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. The shift was complete. The balance had been restored. The power, once his, was no longer negotiable. And as he sat there, broken and uncertain, I knew that the world he had manipulated for years was about to see him for exactly what he was, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He sat slumped in the chair, the last traces of arrogance gone, replaced by raw, exposed fear. The box remained between us, silent, immovable, and absolute, a testament to every misstep he had ever made. He had spent years thinking he controlled the room, the company, the narrative. Now he was powerless. I don't know where to start, he admitted, voice trembling. I never thought anyone would see this. You don't start with fear, I said calmly. You start with truth. One acknowledgement at a time. That's the only way to salvage anything left of your credibility. The rest is already gone. He exhaled shakily and looked down at the box, finally seeing it for what it truly was, not a threat, not leverage, but undeniable reality. The reality he had spent years trying to manipulate, bending rules, hiding errors, and exploiting trust. All of it was here, now, and completely undeniable. I'll cooperate, he whispered finally, broken, hollowed out by the inevitability of exposure. I'll do what you say. I'll fix it. I nodded once. No satisfaction, no gloating. Just clarity. Good. That's the only step forward. The rest is on you. He glanced at me, still shivering, as if he wanted one last word of defiance, one last shred of control. But there was none. All that remained was the quiet understanding that his actions had consequences he could no longer escape. The box remained closed. I didn't need to open it. Its mere presence had done the work. It had shifted the balance, rewritten the power dynamic, and reminded him that some truths cannot be buried. I rose, collected my things, and gave him one last look. Remember this moment, I said softly, almost conversationally. It's the moment you stopped being in control. Let it guide the rest of your decisions. Do it right, or watch the dominoes fall. He nodded weakly, swallowing hard. The lesson had been delivered, and there was no need for threats, no need for dramatics. The truth had spoken for itself. As I walked out of the office, the box stayed on the desk, an unassuming sentinel of justice. He sat there, staring at it, realizing finally that power built on lies is temporary, fragile, and easily undone. And in that quiet realization, I knew the story was over. Some battles don't require violence. Some victories don't require celebration. Some truths simply wait, and when the time comes, they demand to be acknowledged. If you want to see more gripping stories like this and learn the secrets of quiet power and revenge in the professional world, subscribe to my channel, Revenge and Reveal. Hit the bell icon to never miss an update. This is where the hidden truths come to light, and where those who thought they were untouchable are reminded that every action has consequences. White heavy checkmark. Subscribe now, Revenge and Reveal. Share your own stories, strategies, and victories. Truth has power. Justice waits for no one. Don't miss the next story.